You've probably seen a headline about this somewhere, an AI chatbot that's preventing suicide. It's a huge claim, right? And a really hopeful story, especially right now. But what if that story and the math behind it isn't quite what it seems? So today, we're going to dig into it. We're going to unpack the fascinating and honestly really complex research behind these viral claims piece by piece. I mean, this is the big question, isn't it? Can a piece of software, an AI, actually step in during someone's darkest moment? It's an idea that is, well, pretty mind-blowing, and for a lot of people, maybe a little unsettling too. So before we dive in, I just want you to look at this number, 3%. Doesn't seem like much, right? But this single stat is at the very heart of both an incredible finding and a really dangerous misunderstanding. Keep this number in your back pocket. We're going to come back to it. Okay, so our mission here is to get to the real story behind that 3%. We're going to go straight to the source, the actual study, to understand what the science says, what it doesn't say, and why that difference matters so much. So where did this all come from? Well, it all started with a study published in February 2024 by researchers at Stanford University. Now, they weren't actually trying to prove that AI could save lives. Their goal was way broader. They just wanted to figure out how and why students were using this specific AI companion app called Replika. Okay, so the spotlight was on Replika, which markets itself as an AI companion that cares. Now, it's really important to note that even though the study was published in 2024, the actual research was done a while back. So the app was using a mix of models, including some older versions of GPT-3 and GPT-4, still pretty advanced for its time. And remember, the goal wasn't to measure suicide prevention, it was just to see what people were doing with these things. And who were they talking to? The study surveyed just over 1,000 students who were already active Replika users. And this is a huge point, get this, 90% of them reported feeling lonely. I mean, that is a staggering number, way higher than the 53% you see in the general student population. They also tended to come from lower income backgrounds. So right off the bat, we know this group was already in a vulnerable spot, maybe looking for connection wherever they could find it. So this is where it gets really interesting. How do these students actually see their AI companion? Well, it's complicated. A huge majority, 90%, saw it as human-like. 81% saw it as intelligent. But 62% also knew, yep, this is a piece of software. The key thing is that these weren't separate groups. People held all these contradictory ideas in their heads at the same time. It's like they knew it was software, but they felt it was an intelligent, human-like set. And all of this background, all this context, it brings us right back to that one number that started this whole conversation, that 3%. This is where the study uncovered its most powerful and, unfortunately, most misunderstood finding. But before I just give you this statistic, I want you to hear this. This is a direct quote from one of the people in the study. It's just incredibly raw and powerful, and it gives you a glimpse into the kind of impact we're talking about. So, what is this 3%? It's 30 students, 30 people out of the 1,000+ who were surveyed, and here's the absolute kicker. Nobody asked them about this. The researchers didn't have a question like, hey, did Replika stop you from attempting suicide? These 30 people brought it up all on their own in open-ended answers. The researchers ended up calling them the selected group. And look, you just can't deny how powerful those 30 stories are. It's incredible. But this is also the exact point where a really important finding got twisted by some viral math into something the study never, ever claimed. All right, time to put on our critical thinking caps. We're going to break down the flawed equation that spread all over the internet and show you exactly why it's just plain wrong. So here's the bad math that went viral. People took a general statistic that roughly 8% of young people attempt suicide. Then they took the study's 3% finding, subtracted it, and declared that Replika magically reduced the rate to 5%. No, this is just completely wrong. You cannot compare a broad average from the general population with a self-reported finding from a very specific, non-random group, in this case, lonely students who are already using an AI app. The study never even hinted at this kind of calculation. This table really lays it all out, nice and clear. On one side, you have that 8% number. That refers to suicide attempts across a huge general population. On the other side, you have the study's 3%. That's a self-reported change of mind from a very small, specific group. It wasn't validated by a doctor or anything. And here's the most important part. We have no idea how many of those 30 students would have actually gone from thinking about suicide to attempting it. They are fundamentally different kinds of data. It's apples and oranges. You just can't subtract one from the other. And this really gets to the heart of the misunderstanding. There is a world of difference between suicidal ideation and a suicide attempt. Ideation means having thoughts about it. An attempt is a physical act. What those 30 participants reported was that Replika helped stop their thoughts, their ideation, from going further. Now, that is a profoundly important and positive thing, but it is absolutely not the same as clinically preventing a confirmed suicide attempt. Okay, so we've torn down the bad math, but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater here. Because underneath all the hype, this study revealed some genuinely valuable and fascinating things. The researchers really dug into what made that 3% group tick. So what was different about them? Well, for one, they were more likely to see Replika as human-like. And this is huge. They reported that the AI actually stimulated their real-world human relationships. It didn't replace them. They were also much more likely to report having depression. It seems like the app was a real lifeline for the people who are already struggling the most. And this chart just drives that point home. This wasn't just true for the 3% group. Across all the users, it was almost 3 times more common for people to say the AI encouraged them to connect with humans than for them to say it pushed people away. That really pushes back against that common fear that AI is just going to make us all more isolated. But this whole phenomenon, it goes way beyond just the Replika app. To really understand the sheer scale of what's happening, you need to see this number. Over 1 million. That is the estimated number of suicide-related conversations that are happening on ChatGPT. Not in a year, not in a month, every single week. This isn't some niche thing. OpenAI says it's happening right now at a massive global scale, which just shows how urgent it is that we get this right. So, when you put all of this together, what does it actually mean for the future? Where do we go from here, knowing that millions of people are turning to AI in what might be their darkest moments? All right, so let's wrap this up. What are the big takeaways? First, whether we like it or not, AI is already a huge part of the mental health landscape for millions. Second, the fact that it's available 24/7 and doesn't judge seems to be a huge part of its appeal. Third, and this is the whole point of our explainer today, we have to be so careful with how we report and interpret statistics. And finally, those powerful stories from the 30 students. They're an incredibly valuable starting point for more research, but they are not the final word. And that really leaves us with this one big question to chew on. This technology is only getting smarter. The human need is obviously there. The challenge for all of us, for the people building this stuff, for researchers, for us as users, is to figure out how we can harness this amazing potential for connection without getting carried away and without ignoring the very real risks.